Preseason is one of the most important parts of the offseason, and it can absolutely make or break your upcoming season. Right now, I'm going to go through exactly what you need to do if you want to optimize these next couple months so that not only do you show up to your season knowing that you're going to perform, but you show up confident that you're going to perform at a really high level. Just to dive into the elephant in the room, if you watched my videos before, you'll recognize that this is a completely new background. Let me know what you think down below. I'm going to make this super simple, and I'm going to give you 4 things that you need to do to make sure that the next 2 months put you in the best possible position to dominate this upcoming season. The first thing you need to do is you need to identify your goals for this upcoming season so you have an actual focus over the next couple months. I think the important place to start is what your role will likely be. If you know that the point guard from last year is gone and you're going to have to move into that role, you need to make sure that your entire preseason is preparing you for that. If you're in a position where you're trying to earn a role, you want to become a starter, you want to become a varsity player, you want to be able to get minutes at the college level, wherever you may be, you need to prepare with those things in mind. You need to ask yourself, what do I need to do at a high level to be able to fill that role and have an actual job? A lot of times players mess up because they're trying to do a little bit of everything and they actually end up accomplishing nothing. You need to be really focused on what it actually is that is going to matter for you. Like I said, if you're trying to become that point guard, we need to make sure that your decision-making is on point. Maybe your on-ball defense is really important, so you need to make sure that you're prioritizing those things. If you know that you're going to be more of a wing shooter, well, then make sure that you're focusing on making those game shots at a really high level. The best way to do this is to write down 2 or 3 of your season goals for this upcoming year, and then work backwards. For each goal, give yourself 1 or 2 things that you need to focus on doing if you want to actually achieve that, and that's going to give you a really good list of things that you need to make sure you prioritize over the next couple months. Now, if your goal is to be a high-level scorer this season, I created what's called the 15 points per game blueprint, and it's going to take you through the exact 7 steps you need to follow if you want to become a player who's capable of scoring 15 points per game. It's less than 20 minutes long, and so many players reach out to me telling me that their goal is to be someone who can score 15 points per game or better. So I wanted to create this. It's completely free. Like I said, less than 20 minutes, really easy to get through. That's going to be linked in the description down below. Check that out if you're interested in taking your scoring to the next level. This second step is so crucial to making sure that you maximize where you're at when the season gets here. Really, when we talk about the offseason, there's 2 different phases of it. The first phase of it is like the early offseason into the summer. So that would be like March through the end of August. Now, in this first phase of the offseason, we are completely prioritizing for improvement, for learning. So we want to be in what's called learning mode. And if you've heard me talk about this before, essentially learning mode just means that you're challenging yourself in every workout. You want to be in what we call the Goldilocks zone, meaning you're failing between 30 and 70% of all the reps that you do, because in order for there to be progress, your brain needs to signal, hey, we need to improve at this skill. And you only do that by increasing challenge and forcing yourself to fail. So in your ball handling, you're changing your drills, or maybe you're making your drills harder, you're going faster, you're dribbling the ball harder, whatever it may be, to force yourself to make more mistakes. And that's when your brain sends that signal to your body to say, hey, we need to actually improve at this skill, and we force improvement that way. Same thing when it comes to shooting. You find ways to make your shooting drills more difficult. Maybe you move back, maybe you add a defender, maybe you force yourself to make a certain amount in a row, or you give yourself a certain constraint in terms of you have to shoot a different way, you have to mix up your feet, whatever it may be. But the only goal in the early offseason into the summer is that we improve. So it doesn't matter if you necessarily feel great after you leave a workout. All you have to judge it on is, did I force myself into learning mode today? Did I make myself get better? Was there enough mistakes in my workout that I made sure that my brain had to force myself to adapt and get better? But as we get closer to the season, we want to shift towards more of what we would call performance mode. And that's the other side of the coin, where now our workouts aren't necessarily completely focused on just learning, but we're also focused on performing. Meaning we want to look a little bit better. So there might not be quite as much challenge. We are trying to see the ball go through the net as much as possible so that we get to practice number 1 and you feel really confident in your ability. We call that psychological momentum. That just means that when you start to be successful, groove, you start to get in the zone a little bit, you're going to have a little bit of momentum going into the season, and that's generally going to lead to you playing with more confidence and playing at a higher level. Now, the interesting part about the preseason is that we actually have both of these still involved. We want to be in learning mode for part of it, but we also want to start to shift into performance mode as well. So let's say that your season starts in mid-November. That's where it starts in my state. End of August through early October, we want to still be in learning mode. So we still want to be doing workouts that are challenging us, where we are unsure if we can be successful in certain drills or finding ways to make things more difficult. It's better for us to walk out of the gym knowing that we struggled through 60% of that workout than us leaving the gym knowing that we only struggled through 10% of it. And then maybe over that last month of the preseason, we want to shift into more of performance mode. And that just means that we want to make things a little bit less challenging so that you're a little bit more successful. And again, you build that confidence and that psychological momentum going into your actual season. A really simple way to do this is that you want to see the ball go in as much as possible. So for example, when I'm training my players, once the late preseason gets here, and then especially as we get into the actual winter season, I'm going to make sure that we scale back a lot on that and we put all of the emphasis onto them leaving the gym feeling good, feeling confident. And so what we'll do is a lot of times we'll do a lot more shooting of shots that I know that they're going to make at a really high level. So if I'm working with a great shooter and they can normally make 5 shots in a row from the corner, a lot of times if we're in the off season, I'm going to add something to it to make it more difficult, to make them miss more, to force an adaptation and keep them in learning mode. But in the late preseason, I may just have them shoot those shots, see the ball go in, feel really good about it, and build psychological momentum going into the season. So for you, you need to identify drills or maybe certain workouts that you do that make you feel really good, make you feel really confident, that you leave the gym and you feel like you're a baller. Well, you want to start to really prioritize doing those things, especially as we approach the actual winter season. The third thing you need to do to make sure that you maximize the preseason is you need to get yourself into game shape. Nothing can simulate being in basketball shape. You can run a mile a day. That's not going to actually translate over to you being able to sprint, then slide, then sprint for 30 seconds, then rest for 5 seconds, then have to slide, then backpedal. The way that basketball is so stop and go, we want to prepare ourselves for that. The best way to do that is just by playing as much as you possibly can. So play as much pickup as you can, play as much full court, just to get used to being on offense, being on defense, being able to go back to offense and maintain a certain level of effort the whole time. The best thing you can do, especially going into a tryout at the beginning of the winter season, is make sure that the only thing you have to worry about is your conditioning. You know that you're good because you've been preparing yourself for this. And the best way of doing it, like I said, is by playing as much as you possibly can. There's nothing that can replace that. Additionally, though, you can add in extra sprints after your workouts now just to make sure that you're getting in that conditioning to prepare yourself. I love doing 17s after workouts where you're just running sideline to sideline 17 times, and you can do maybe 1, 2, 3 of those at the end of your workouts just to prepare yourself additionally. And then the fourth thing you need to do in order to prepare yourself for the season, and I haven't really mentioned this when it comes to the preseason specifically, but you need to make sure that you prepare yourself to perform mentally. You spend all this time in the off season working on your skills, your conditioning, getting in the weight room and getting stronger and more athletic. You need to make sure that you have a roadmap to follow. You have a focus going into games, into practice to make sure that you're actually able to perform and make an impact on the court. Now, there's a lot that can go into this, but I think the simplest thing and the thing that most people don't ever think about or talk about is you want to make sure that you build a scoring baseline for yourself. A lot of players tell me they want to score 10 points per game, 15 points per game, 20 points per game, but they don't have any sort of plan, any sort of framework for how to actually do that. What does it actually mean to be able to go out and score that amount of points every game? And it starts off with forgetting the fact that, oh, I've got to go out there and I've got to hit all these crazy shots and I've got to shoot 20 times a game and I've got to be the go-to guy. There's only one player maybe like that on most teams. So for you to actually score that many points consistently, you need to find ways to make scoring easy, make it simple, and base it way more on your effort and your focus than on the amount of shots you get or the role that you play. So we build the scoring baseline, 6 or 8 points that you can pretty much bank on scoring every game so that becomes your baseline. And then you make any more shots on top of that, you hit a couple threes, next thing you know, you're at 14 points right there. You get a couple more layups, whatever. Next thing you know, you're at 12, 14, 16, 18 points right there. And to start off with this, there's 4 things that you want to focus on going into your practice and going into your games to build the scoring baseline. The first one is running in transition. Again, this is all about effort. So your teammate pulls a rebound and your goal is to be the first one to get to half court, because just that 2 or 3 seconds of effort sprinting is going to get you out ahead of everybody, and that can get you a bucket, 2 buckets, maybe 3 buckets every game. That right there could be 2, 4, or 6 points just because of your effort sprinting in transition. The next thing is crashing the offensive glass, and this even applies to you if you're a guard. You can be the littlest player on the floor, but there's so many threes that get shot in today's game that there's a lot of long rebounds. So by you looking to crash the offensive boards more often, you'll be surprised at the easy buckets you're going to get just because you are providing effort and you're focused on it. And then the last thing you need to focus on is getting to the free throw line. And this can obviously be by driving to the basket and getting fouled, whatever, but it also is about keeping track of whether or not your team is in the bonus. And if you know that the other team has 6 fouls and on the 7th team foul, you guys shoot free throws, you need to look to be aggressive and drive, because you know if they call a foul on the perimeter because of a hand check, you're going to shoot free throws. Now imagine doing that twice in a game and you hit all your free throws. That's 4 points off the bat right there. And then we throw in 1 bucket in transition. We throw 1 bucket off an offensive rebound. We throw in a bucket off of cutting with a basketball. That's 8 points that you got right there. And that's before we talk about actually making shots or actually creating or using any sort of ball screen or any sort of off-ball action. So if you want to become a high-level scorer, it becomes about building that scoring baseline. So you want to make sure that that framework is something that you understand going into your season so that you're ready to score at a high level. If you're serious about making this your best season ever, this is where you really need to lock it in. And right now we're running our preseason sale on all of our programs for the next almost 3 days. You can get all of our training programs for 25% off. Whether your goal is to become a better scorer, you want to improve your shooting, your ball handling, your decision-making, your basketball IQ, whatever, we have programs that are going to help you to take all of that stuff to a whole new level. This includes Basketball IQ Academy, which is the most important program we've ever released, and it's helped players see results like this. We also have the Elite Shooter System, which is going to help you to become a confident, consistent shooter who can light it up from anywhere. And Elite Ball Handling 2.0 is going to help you to make the ball become an extension of your hand so that you're no longer limited on the court and you're able to go out there and handle the ball confidently against anything that you might see. If you're interested in checking out any of that, it's a top link down below. Highly recommend you go check that out to make sure that you're prepared to go when the season gets here. Let me know what your goals are for this upcoming season and what you're going to do during the preseason to make sure that you can do that. Appreciate you for watching. Talk soon. Peace.